The governor yesterday in Decatur saying that it's about politics when it comes to the ongoing litigation over masks and school mandates like vaccine or testing requirements for teachers. It is the WMAY morning news feed. I'm Greg Bishop. Now 7:12, 23 degrees and possibility of up to 3 inches of snow this morning. So yesterday was a pretty busy day for me. After being on the air, I went over to Decatur where the governor was talking about property tax rebates and giving his proposal to offer up temporary property tax rebates of up to $300. After that news conference, I went over to the Capitol and grabbed several lawmakers for different issues to respond to the governor so that we've got the whole sides of everything that's being debated when it comes to property tax relief and masks. But the governor, when he was, delivering, of course, his proposal for property tax rebates, he did take some questions. I'm glad I went to Decatur because nobody else asked any questions. I was there to be able to ask the governor a few questions. So I did ask him about the property tax issues, and we'll touch on that a bit. But obviously, this was the first appearance the governor had in public after the attorney general filed an appeal to the Illinois Supreme Court over the appellate court's decision that the governor's argument is moot, that he has the power to issue mandates for masks and exclusions in schools and vaccine and testing on teachers and staff because the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules blocked his rules that he filed last week. So the appellate court said that was moot. And Tuesday, Attorney General Kwame Raoul filing an appeal to the Illinois Supreme Court. So here's a bit of the exchange I had with the governor. And again, I bounced over to the Capitol to get response from State Senator Darren Bailey, who's a Republican gubernatorial candidate. And you'll also hear Paul Schimpf, who is a former state senator and also a gubernatorial candidate for the June 28th primary. And after that, I'll share with you some of the other comments from other gubernatorial candidates when it comes to the ongoing back and forth about the mask dispute. But again, the governor, he is saying that there is not a controversy here. He says that the issue is about politics, not conflict of state law. So here's what some of the governor had to say and in response to the questions I posed to him on Wednesday in Decatur.
Your reaction to the Attorney General filing the appeal in the Illinois Supreme Court? What do you say to those school districts who have gone mask optional, mask recommended? Can you put the toothpaste back in the tube, so to speak?
Well, remember, I've said for several weeks now that we would be removing the requirement for masks in schools, and that on February 28th, we'll be removing the mask mandate in indoor settings. So, it's when you say toothpaste back in the tube, I would just say that that is our aim and has been our aim all along. However, the decisions that were made at the circuit court and appellate court level, well, let's talk about the circuit court. That was just a poor decision, a badly designed reading of the law. The appellate court, because of the desire of the legislature to punt, frankly, decided they would punt too. And that's what they did. So now this is going to go to the Supreme Court. And this really is about what do we do in the next emergency, right? This, as much as anything, what happens when there is another Omicron wave, or God forbid, at some future date, another pandemic or some other major emergency that affects everybody in the state. We want to be able to do the right thing for the people across the state. And so we hope that the Supreme Court will see that and rule on that despite the decision by the appellate court.
Why not see legislation to clarify what the powers are when it comes to these quarantine?
We actually don't think that there's any lack of clarity. It seemed the judge decided differently, but I also think there were some politics involved in that.
You have the courts. I mean, obviously there is conflict here because the courts are, they're moving.
The conflict is political. It is not what is in the written law.
That's a dangerous statement. So no, it's much more than just political. It's facts, my facts, your facts, my science, your science. We live in a free constitutional republic. We're smart enough to decide for ourselves whether or not we need to be wearing a mask or not. Leave them alone. Let people live free. And if the General Assembly needs to meet, we've never once been, had a bill put in front of us to give the governor that authority or to change law, to make masks, a requirement.
J.B. Pritzker to go ahead and resubmit the rule that had been struck down by a judge is just absolutely unfathomable. J.B. Pritzker needs to look at himself in the mirror and ask whether he is interested in supporting the rule of law in Illinois, because clearly he is not.
So again, those were separately Governor J.B. Pritzker yesterday, State Senator Darren Bailey yesterday, and then State Senator Paul Schimpf from a few days ago. And some of the other comments that have been made since some of the latest ins and outs of the mask debate from other gubernatorial candidates. Of course, these are Republicans all vying for the gubernatorial nomination. June 28th is when the primary is. But you heard from Senator Darren Bailey. You heard from former State Senator Paul Schimpf. But you also have Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin's campaign saying that Pritzker's ruled the state unilaterally under the guise of emergency powers. They said it's time for the governor to accept the people of Illinois want their seat back at the table when it comes to decision-making affecting their communities, and real leadership is representing these voices, something he's ignored the last 2 years, they say. Venture capitalist Jesse Sullivan put out a statement a few days ago saying that the governor will, quote, stop at nothing to ensure he alone controls the lives of our school children. The governor has proven he only cares to listen to the most extreme ideologues within the Chicago Teachers Union and Washington, D.C. Sullivan says as governor, he promises to put parents' voices first. So we'll see how this plays out, of course, with the Illinois Supreme Court being asked to take up the governor's appeal, but it's unclear if the Supreme Court's actually going to be acting on that. But when it comes to mask mandates, of course, the governor insists he still has a mandate in place for schools, despite hundreds of school districts all across the state going either mask optional or mask recommended, not mask required. And one of the questions I asked him was, how do you put the toothpaste back in the tube? And he kind of chuckled at that, but it's a legitimate question. Do you think a lot of these school districts are actually going to go back to requiring masks if there's some change with the Illinois Supreme Court if they were to take the case up? But you do have other mask issues. Again, a rundown of all the different ways this is going to be lifted come Monday. You've got the statewide mandates that the governor's had in place since last summer. For most indoor settings going to be lifted, except for healthcare facilities, congregate settings, and the like. But most other places, it's not going to be required for you to wear a mask. Anywhere south of Chicago, you kind of see that mask compliance anyways has already been about 50-50, if not more on the side of people not wearing masks. So come Monday, that's going to be lifted statewide. I reached out to the Secretary of State's office, which manages drivers for service facilities all across the state. They said that their employees are going to continue to wear masks, but masks won't be required for the public customers. It'll be recommended, they said, but it won't be required. The Illinois Supreme Court, which oversees the state's court system, they also announced yesterday that come Monday, court systems can lift the mask mandate. They can have it in place locally if they want, but it's no longer going to be required by the Illinois Supreme Court. Interesting to see if that somehow affects how they act on the governor's appeal in this ongoing discussion about masks in schools. But you also have the Capitol complex, which is managed by the Secretary of State. I asked if that's going to be lifted come Monday, and they said that they still don't have that answer. But it's assumed here that the House and the Senate chambers, where there are still mask rules in place, it's expected that they'll keep those in place throughout the rest of the legislative session. Especially after Speaker Welch took to the floor the other day and laid out that they want to get the work done and they want to do it safely. So I don't know if we'll see any changes in House and Senate rules when it comes to mask requirements for lawmakers inside those chambers. But it's coming to an end come Monday with the masks being lifted in most places. While you've got the ongoing battle about what to do with schools ongoing, the Illinois Supreme Court still have yet to announce whether or not they're going to take up the governor's appeal in that case. It is the WMAY Morning News Feed. I'm